Hi, my name is Gretchen, and this is my mental health story. So, I've had anxiety and depression for pretty much as long as I can remember, but I didn't know what it was until about a year or 2 years ago, which sucked because then I didn't get treatment for it until about a year ago. And I'm 21 years old, and it's been going on my whole life. But I think that's pretty common. It started with small things of overthinking this or that, or having social anxiety, ruminating on things that happened a long time ago that like most people would have forgotten about. So it started with common symptoms that I thought, oh, just everybody has that. Uh, and it slowly started to get worse and worse. And like any mental illness, it would go in waves of like, okay, it's bad for a while, but then it calms down, so it's not that big of a deal, but then it gets bad again. But oh, it'll pass because I've gotten through it before, I can do this kind of a thing. And so it never was really like that big of a deal, I thought. But it did lead to, so mostly my anxiety led to me having an eating disorder on top of it, where that was my way of controlling my life. So when I felt like other things were out of control, food and exercise and my body, that was something that I could always control. It was always there for me. And it would make me feel better, but it was making me so unhealthy. And so it was just this unhealthy cycle of anxiety leads to eating disorder, leads to depression, and so on and everything. And again, it went in cycles, so it wasn't just 21 years straight of this, but it got to some points where I was so unhealthy. It still scares me to think about it. And eventually, my wake up call was kind of about 2 years ago when I wasn't sleeping, I definitely wasn't eating, and it just felt like I was just going through the motions of life, which is so not me. I just kind of felt like a zombie, and then I ended up in the ER for stomach problems I was having, and then I started having panic attacks, and, as common as they are for people getting them, those are probably the scariest thing that's ever happened to me in my life, and I don't wish those on anyone. And so that was really my wake-up call of something is wrong, something is going to change, we're not going to just let this happen anymore. And so I went to the doctor and I got diagnosed right away with anxiety and depression, and he recommended medication, but I was like, no, I'm trying counseling, I want to try that for a while. And this was the first time I had even gone to a counselor or a doctor, was like a year and a half ago, even though it's been going on for so long. I just always kind of relied on like my friends and like family and other support systems for help, which is totally great, but it wasn't enough for me. So I went to the doctor, and even therapy was kind of not enough for me. And it's funny because I'm an officer in our Active Minds chapter at Rockhurst, so much of my work is trying to break the stigma surrounding mental health, trying to make people feel comfortable talking about this and sharing their struggles. And yet I was still stigmatizing myself of like, yeah, but I don't have those problems, and like I would be weak if I had those problems. And so it was just this weird thing of I didn't want to take medication, which also is pretty common, but just nothing else was working for me. And at this point, I'd had a lot of lifestyle changes. I was living back at home, so like all of the stress that could have been attributed to external factors like should have been gone. So it was kind of like, okay, if you're still at this level at this point, I'm gonna try medication. And I still remember the first day that I like felt the effects of my medication, and I mean it still brings tears to my eyes sometimes when I think about it. It was like a cloud had been lifted off of my head, and like it's so cliche, but I remember noticing the sky again. Like I was walking to work and I was like, "Oh my God, the sky is so beautiful today." Because my head wasn't clouded with like, well, are you sure these shoes are pregnant? What are you going to think? What is your boss going to say when you get there? To like the point that you can't even think, or, I mean, that's what led to just going through the motions. You're just trying to get through each day, and that's just not how life should be. And so that was a big turning point for me of like, I'm going to do this. I forgot how good life can be. I'm going to make it good again. And from then on, it's been really a journey of making lifestyle changes, opening up to people and talking about it. I'm a very open person, but I never used to talk about my mental illness. And for over 10 years of having an eating disorder, I told no one. Which kind of goes with a lot of eating disorders, but it just was like this unhealthy secret I had. But now, even when I don't go to therapy, even if I am just talking to my friends and family now, it helps me so much to talk through it with other people and to find people who have similar experiences and a lot of times can offer advice. It's not professional, but they could say, oh, this worked for me, or even just to have a listening ear for somebody to say, I'm sorry you're going through that. That's really challenging. So that has been huge for me. And I am proud to say I am almost fully recovered from my eating disorders. I had anorexia and then orthorexia. And for the first time probably in my life, I am at a healthy weight, which is exciting. And my anxiety and depression are so much more under control. I see a therapist, I see a dietitian. My primary care physician knows about all of my illnesses and works with me. All my friends know, my roommates, everyone. And so one thing that's really helped me is I've just kind of surrounded myself with this support system of people so that I'm never short of resources. So that if it does get bad, if I do want to restrict what I'm eating, if I am having trouble getting out of bed one day, I have just a plethora of people I can go to, which is really important for me. And then at the same time, they hold me accountable and they'll notice if I'm acting off. They'll notice if I'm not taking care of myself. So that's huge for me. I have had other things that have helped me also that can be anywhere from little things to big things. So little things like the colors I put in my room and the way that I arrange things. That actually has huge impacts on anxiety and depression. And so changing things like that, which can be a very small change, or having to quit a job because it's too much of a commitment for you, which is very valid. Oh, and I wanted to say a note on the medication thing. I have allergies, so I take an allergy pill. If I had diabetes, I would give myself insulin. I take an iron supplement. Like, there are so many sicknesses where it's okay to take medication, and for some reason in society, mental illnesses are not okay, and you're kind of weak, or you should just tough it out if you're taking a medication. And if natural remedies can get you through, and maybe it's just a funk and it's a matter of some lifestyle changes, that's great. Do that. But if you are to the point where nothing else is happening, it is okay to take medication. Like, it's just so silly to me that is so hugely stigmatized, because I really think it saved my life. I know it has saved other people's lives. So, if you are ever contemplating that, do it. Do whatever it takes to take care of yourself. And that's kind of been my motto ever since I started medication was, I'm done letting this rule my life. And of course I still have struggles, but like I was saying, the lifestyle changes, the support system, see your therapist, it's okay. All of those things have been so huge for me. I also like to surround myself with little reminders. So everywhere in my room are just little things that make me feel happy, that have nice memories connected to them. I have this semicolon necklace, which is, if you're not familiar with the symbolism of semicolons, like where a sentence could have ended but didn't. So a lot of mental health patients and suicide survivors, they kind of can pinpoint a semicolon point in their life where your life could have ended, this disease could have ended your life, but it didn't. Like, you're still here, you're still fighting, and that's such a powerful message to me. So when I wear my necklace, it's just kind of a nice reminder of that. And then also I have my Active Minds bracelet, and it says, "The world needs you here." And that's such an important message too, of like, you may not feel like you are important always, but you are. And like, you mean so much to somebody, you mean so much to this world. And I would say those are the messages that I remind myself most of, that I would like to remind others, that you are enough, you are worth it, do whatever it takes to take care of yourself, prioritize your self-care, prioritize your mental health. That's not selfish. That's just what you would do if you had a broken leg. You would go to the hospital. So, I mean, like, we just have to remove this stigma around it so that nobody else feels so alone in this struggle. And I think that this program is so great that Dr. Stein is creating. There is just needs to be more communal aspects around this and healing through one another. And I really encourage anybody who's watching this to do whatever it takes to get better and know that you are supported. You are not alone.